Hey everybody, welcome to Recovery Week 2. We've gone through 3 weeks of our 8-minute AMRAP, and I'm very excited to recover, to rest, to stretch, to roll. We are still going to be working out a bit, still engaging some muscles and building some heat, but definitely down on the intensity level just a bit. So for today, we are going to be using a foam roller. Hopefully you have one of these. I would highly recommend it. It is a very cheap and useful tool to have lying around to help with recovery. So if you would join me on the mat seated and put the roller just right underneath your shoulder blades, we're going to start with a simple little roll routine. Just kind of roll gently up and down. You can rest your head in your hands, put your hands behind your back, open your body to the left, and then roll to the right. Just get little changes side to side. Pay attention to everything that you feel throughout. So we hit these little mobility sessions and recovery sessions, or at least for this round, every 3 weeks, but I would highly recommend hitting up your roller every evening or every couple days. Doesn't need to be a lot of time. You can just focus on one part of the body. You don't have to do it all. All right, we're going to sit up on the roller and just roll those glutes and hamstrings. So bring your body all the way forward, roll as high up as you can, and then roll back. So whenever you're foam rolling, what you're doing is putting pressure and massage, self-massage, into what's called myofascial release, because your muscles are encased in fascia. It's a thin substance that can get rigid and brittle if it's not massaged. And these rollers recently have become great at building the hydration and suppleness of the fascia. So cross your top leg, let's say your right leg, over your left, and you're going to roll around on the outside of the glute, back and forth. And then find enough space so that you can roll down the side of the leg a bit. Be gentle. Sometimes this can cause a little bit of tension and pain. If you struggle with any sort of knee pain, this is a really good one to try to add into your daily routine. Kind of rolling that IT band has been shown to be helpful for lots of people who struggle with knee pain, depending on what the knee pain is. So sometimes we just get it because we're tight or weak in certain places. Sometimes we get it because we've pulled something, the ligaments aren't working quite right, or bone on bone contact, that cartilage has worn down. Switch to the other side, roll back and forth. You've got it. Try to keep that breath nice and deep. And then just shift around however you feel, what feels good for you. All right, and then we're going to go all the way down to the calves. So set the roller underneath your calves. Try to keep your feet relaxed. You'll have to lift your hips up and then roll back and forth. So it can be a little problematic, I guess, if you have short arms. You can find something to put your arms up on, if that would help. I end up flexing my feet because so much of our workouts and exercises, you flex your feet, but try to remember to keep them relaxed. It's better to get into the calves that way. All right. And then we're going to lie on our backs, tuck your hips up so that they're off the ground, and we're going to lie the roller on the sacrum, on the low part of your back, so that you feel your pelvis sitting on the roller, And then as you tuck your knees in, the roller doesn't move away from you. So it takes a little bit of adjustment here and there to find that kind of perfect spot. And then go ahead and do bend the knees, and you're just going to rotate them left and right. So this is a little SI, sacroiliac joint kind of release and help keep going left and right. All right, and then readjust if you need. Put your legs straight up and then see if you can kind of twist to the left and the right, or tilt to the left and the right here. Doesn't need to be far, just a small little pressure on the pelvis, on those little joint insertions. Now then stay to the left, and then I want you to bend your right leg and then press it straight. Bend, press, bend, press. Other side. Have to use a little bit of core contraction here, and we're going to be getting a little more in a bit, so don't worry. One more. Back to the center, and then just hold your legs straight up overhead. Should feel good on your low back, so relax the low back toward the ground. If you're tight, you may look a little bit more like this. That's okay. It still just gives pressure on that low back, or on your pelvis, on those SI joints. And then tuck the knees in. Let your back melt even more into the ground. All right. And then lower the hips down. Nice and easy. And then we're going to let our hip flexors have a little bit of an opening. So depending on how tight your hip flexors are, depending on how your low back feels right here, you might just stay put. So we just want to rest the hips on that roller. Let a little bit of opening come through the hip flexors depending on how you're feeling. And if your low back can take it, extend one leg. And then depending on how you're feeling, extend the other. So getting those hips lifted up will help give a little bit more opening to those hip flexors. Just a couple deep breaths here. And then bring both feet back in. We'll push the hips up and then remove the roller. All right. Go ahead and rock and roll your way up. And we're going to come up to the top and hit up a little bit of a different type of movement with our roller. So instead of using it now for myofascial release, we're going to get a little bit more movement and range of motion in. So press your hands onto either side of the roller, set your feet, slide the shoulder blades down, find that core, and you're just going to twist and lift. So push a little bit of pressure on the roller. You're not swinging through the air. You're contracted. You're flexed, you're controlled, those hips are set. Almost think about counter twisting the hips. Tighten deep through that core. Trunk rotations are super important. You want to have a flexible and mobile mid-back, strong mid-back, finding flexion into that upper back where those shoulder blades are, and core contraction as well. Keep going here. Hinge, twist, hinge, twist. Last two. And one. Okay, now we get the other side. So rotate. Always feels kind of funky to start that different direction. Keep tightening that belly button back. If you want more, you just press more into that roller. Remember, you're not just twisting without any resistance. Find flexion. Press through those legs. Counter twist the hips. You're not really counter twisting, but it's more just trying to keep them set, square, and level. Press between those arms. You got it. Tighten deeper into that core. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, lift that roller up overhead. Just reach behind, twist, twist. All right, we're going to switch it up into a drinking bird, but we're going to use the roller. So this is also super effective and helpful if you're trying to figure out your single leg deadlift, because it gives you that pressure and support between the hand and the foot. So right hand on the roller, right foot underneath. Find pressure there. Make sure you have space. And then we want to keep that tension and pressure. Hinge all the way down and then all the way up. Whew. Now, if coming all the way to the ground doesn't work for you, doesn't matter. You can just tap to the kneecap and up. That's fine. You should feel a little better control of the pelvis and the low back when you have this flexion between the arm and the roller and your foot. So this is what we're going for. For those of you who've been doing single leg deadlifts with me weighted, this is what the feeling should be like on that back lifting leg. I'm going to face the camera, see if I can figure out if my hips are level, slightly lifted, looks like. Let's go 4 more. Bend into that supporting leg a bit. Last one. Core still strong, tension between the arm and the foot, flexion through that core. All right, now we get that other side. Remember, it's not about touching the ground. It's about keeping the back really long. So sometimes I see that we just want to get our hand to the ground, count our rep, but keep that long spine. Make the floor as far away from you as possible by pulling the shoulders back and taking time to get that reach all the way down. Try to check in, notice what's going on, the inner thigh, outer thigh, what's going on with that hip joint. Is it rocking out to the side? Can you flex any deeper into the core and the back? 3 to go. 2 and 1. Check in, flatten out. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna hit up the core, get more into the core. Lie your roller long ways, and you're gonna sit on the roller from the very end, tailbone, to the back of your head. So the whole body needs to be supported. If you're really, really long, then we need to probably adjust, do something different, get a longer roller. Okay, before we set into our core work, just take the opportunity to roll side to side here. You will kind of grab the core so that you don't fall all the way off. So just gentle left and right rolls. Let your shoulder blades wrap around that roller. You should feel a nice stretch across your pecs and shoulders. All right, last one. Okay, level off. We need to find contact between the roller and the low back. So slide your hips under, tuck your pelvis, push the low back into the roller. Now try your best not to grab the glutes when you're doing that. It's a little bit difficult, but try your best. So already you should be feeling your core contracting, grabbing, heating up. Barely tap your fingertips or as much as you need out to the side. And then we're going to just start by lifting one leg and then set it down and then the other. Just like with our dead bugs, tighten a lot through that core. Try to keep the contact of the low back into that roller. Let your shoulder blades wrap around the roller. And then you kind of find that perfect position of your fingertips on the ground. See how much you have to use your hands for support. I definitely need my hands on the ground. Definitely feeling my core temperature rise. Get that flexion. Good. Keep your march. Let's go for 2 more each side, and then we're going to switch up our options. So you can keep going as you are, or pull both legs up so you're in a tabletop position, and then again, slide deep into that belly, drop one heel, bring it back up, and then hit that other side. So if this is too much, if you're not able to keep that low back on the roller, then just keep your marching that we just did, that little alternating heel drop with one foot staying stabilized on the ground. Flex deep through the belly. You want to find those interior, super deep muscles of the core, those transverse abdominis. Keep that core locked. Getting everything a little off balance. This is good. Got it, you got it. Let's go 2 more each side. Stay tucked in. See if you can kind of find the different portions of the core that you're grabbing and activating. Stay with it. Last one. Perfect. All right. Lower both feet. Let's roll back and forth side to side again. Just let everything kind of loosen up. Okay, level off. And then we're going to go into a roll up or a crunch. So you might fall off a couple times. Try your best not to give up. Just keep trying. You might not get all the way up or all the way down. So that's fine. You can just lift, contract, flex across that belly, and then lower and stay there. Or once you're up, you can lower to that sticky part and then lift from there. Like I said, you might fall off, one heel might come up. That's the whole point. All those little exchanges and changes in the body are actually going to facilitate your core working and grabbing. So lower down, try your best not to throw the arms, and then come up. Tuck that tailbone so that your low belly contracts and your low back pushes into the ground. Doing great. You got it. Keep it going. Taking our time. This is just 5 because I want to take that flexion and sink it in, hold it tight for a while as I'm rolling down. Nice, slow, and controlled. You'll also find how you change as you fatigue a bit. The work changes if it gets tougher, if that roller starts going. Flex, grab, contract. Feel like you're rolling one vertebra at a time, rolling down, one vertebra at a time, rolling up. Just keep it going. Not focused on numbers today, just what's going on in the body. Still getting movement, range of motion, building mobility, but letting that kind of high intensity back off. The body actually does take on stress when it works out, especially at that high level. So we want to give it a little bit of time to just relax, unload. You actually might find if your goal is weight loss that you'll lose some weight this week just because you're allowing your body to be less stressed. Hopefully we won't lose too much muscle. I'm not worried. Okay, last one. Roll slow, slow, slow. And then up slow, slow, slow. Perfect. Okay, stay here. This direction on the roller, just extend that left leg out, and then we're going to roll the glute left and right just a bit. Again, taking opportunity to use a different side of the roller or roll a different direction, getting the muscle fibers a different way. Okay, then the other side, extend your right leg long, roll back and forth. All right. Go ahead and put your roller back so that it's perpendicular to your mat. And we're going to try a little hamstring walk. So I haven't done these a lot. Sometimes it's fairly tough. Sometimes it's not so tough. But what we're going to do is plant the feet on the roller, push your hips up into a glute bridge. Wiggle those shoulder blades under. So option 1 is to stay here. Option 2, we're going to walk the roller forward just a bit and then walk it back. Keep the hips lifted, keep the core strong. Now then walk it out again. And then walk it back. You kind of find your range that works for you, how many little steps you want to take. You're inadvertently getting the bottoms of the feet rolled here as well. So a little double duty. Okay, those hamstrings are lighting up. Keep your hips lifted. Walk it back in. Push it back out. Keep it up. Make sure the core is still going strong. And then pull. Woof. 2 more. And then pull back. 1 more. And then we'll pull it in. Stay here, push those hips, grab just a little deeper, and then lower all the way down. Perfect. All right. Grab the roller. We're going to use it for a little bit of flexion. So put it between your feet and your knees, and then just bring your arms straight up. Squeeze the roller between the legs. So activate, tight, 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 and then you're just going to take your arms overhead. So feel your inner thighs grabbing, contracting, the core pressing strong, low back pushes into the ground. So you get as much work out of it as you put into it. Flex, find contraction, keep those arms moving. Doesn't really matter how fast or slow. Isometric contractions are fantastic. Not a lot of impact to the joints, but you're building muscle. You're strengthening the bone. Can you squeeze it anymore? Flex in, flex in, flex in. Build the heat. Squeeze a roller. Grab the belly. Tight, tight, tight. Last one. Oh. All right. Let your feet drop. And then bring the roller up. We're just going to go into a little bit of a stretch to finish us off. Lift your hips up onto your roller. I've been talking about this in our butterfly stretch. So when you get your hips up off the ground and get a little bit of elevation, sometimes that gives you some more space for the knees to drop, depending on how your butterfly stretch is going. So just pull the soles of your feet in wherever feels good for you and let those knees drop out. Lift the chest. And then if you'd like, you can reach forward over the thighs a bit, relaxing through those inner thighs. Okay, and then you're going to extend both legs long. So you're still going to sit on the roller, kind of right under your sits bones if you're familiar with those, the bony part of your booty right at the bottom. It's the base of your pelvis. Pull the toes up. We want to flex the feet back, get a stretch behind those calves, behind the knees, and then up into the hamstrings. Just walk your hands forward as far as feels good for you. Try to keep your back pretty long and tall as opposed to rounded forward. Sometimes you can use the hands as a little bit of traction. Set those hands into the ground and then pull the shoulder blades down, pulling those hands back. Just breathe deep. We're going to stay here a bit. Okay, and then we're going to move the roller down underneath your low calf, kind of between your ankle and calf. All right, so again, flex the feet. So now instead of our hips being elevated, our feet are going to be elevated. It might be a nice idea for you to sit your back against a wall if you find that you collapse and it's really hard to get that kind of hinge into the hips. This is the same kind of hinge that we want whenever we're doing a forward fold from standing, or the same hinge when we're doing a deadlift. Pull those toes back. You can also put your hands behind you to lift the chest nice and high. Then see if you can have the roller in just a nice position where you can grab around the other side with your hands. That'll kind of help give you a little bit of extra pull, something to grab onto to pull the body forward. Keep that breath going. Stretching those hamstrings. If you need to back off, back off. They're starting to freak out. Mine are nice and tight. All right, and then release from there. And we're going to flip over onto the other side. So just put your roller underneath your knees, so it's on your shins. And we're going to roll the roller back and forth just a bit on those shins. So hopefully this feels good for you. First few times I did it, I wasn't quite sure, but I've grown to really like how that rolling on the shins feels. Point both toes out, then down, then to the side, and then the other side. So just kind of the outside of those calves. Okay, and then leave one shin on. So let's say your left shin stays on. Bring your right leg forward. Just hinge down. Put it back. And then we'll go that other side. Ooh, lots of pops. Hip flexor, back. Get everything back into position, I hope. Okay. And then let's just stand up and hit that forward fold. Get your feet nice and lined up. Hinge over the legs. Pleasure to be with you. Stretch everything out, roll everything out. Still getting into that core. Keeping the body mobile and going. Prepped for another week coming up. All right. enjoy the rest of your day. I hope that you feel a little bit lighter, looser, and mobile, and I'll see you tomorrow.